by fans of high quality entertainment. So, on my two channels, as some of you know, I'm ranking and reviewing the Beach Boys, all of their albums on my Canadian Studmuffin channel. And on this channel, I'm starting the ranking for all of Paul McCartney's albums. But of course, I don't want to just do, the rankings and reviews of the albums. And so on my Canadian Studmuffin channel, I just did a video about hockey. That's right. So if you have any interest in hockey, please check that out. And I'm not sure when it will be posted, but it will be posted soon. And so on this channel, I thought I would talk about, and I'm sure there's a lot more than 10, but 10 really popular, great albums that I have never, ever heard. They've never been part of my vinyl or CD collection. And I'm not saying I haven't heard, maybe a song or two or three or four from the album. I just haven't heard any of these albums from start to finish. And, just be kind in the comment section because I'm sure I could name off some albums that you've never heard yourself, right? I've listened to thousands of albums in my life, but there are just some that for whatever reason I didn't have enough interest to check them out. So these aren't in any order or anything, but they're just 10 albums. So first up is Janis Joplin, Pearl. I still have a memory of seeing this album when it was released. I think in a drugstore when they used to sell albums in there, and really liking the cover. And of course, I knew of Janis Joplin. I might not have heard her music except for maybe a song or two at the time. And then, of course, she had just recently died before this album had come out. So there's just memories, I guess sad memories associated with the album. And I have heard two or three songs from the album, but like I said, I just haven't ever listened to it from start to finish. And she put on a great performance at Monterey Pop Festival, of course. Great talent. I know she's not for everybody vocal wise, but her vocals never bothered me. I just never had enough interest in her music to buy it. So that's the first one. Next up, Marvin Gaye, What's Going On? And of course, I've heard the song What's Going On. And Creedence Clearwater Revival did a great version of I Heard It Through the Grapevine. And I love his. I did buy the 45 for Sexual Healing. I love that. Well, I still today love that song. And I know it's a classic. I know that. I just haven't, and maybe I will, but I've just never listened to What's Going On all the way through. But I've heard a song or two. And he was definitely a great talent. Next up. Oh, I'm going to get some comments for this one. Joy Division, Unknown Pleasures, and also Closer, the other album, of course. I do like the song Love Will Tear Us Apart, but because the lead, what happened with the lead singer, there's just something about a person that has ended their own life, right? That I find really sad because of my own personal experiences with family members. And I just have no interest in hearing that because I would just be thinking about that when listening to the music. But I know from what I've read, it's a great album. And if you enjoy it, that's great. But yeah, that's just my own personal opinion about hearing the music of Joy Division. Next up, Stevie Wonder. That's right, Inner Visions. Now, I did buy Songs in the Key of Life back in the 70s and really liked that album. But I've never heard his earlier albums, including Inner Visions. Of course, I've heard certain songs from all of the albums, which I really did enjoy, but I've just never bought any of them. And yeah, so that's Inner Visions by Stevie Wonder. And I'm not saying I won't check it out on Spotify or something. It's just I have so much music already that I love to listen to, and that takes up a lot of my time. And like I keep saying, that I'm sure there's lots of great music that I've listened to that I think is great that you haven't heard of or listened to. Buffalo Springfield. I've never bought a Buffalo Springfield album. Of course, I've heard some of the songs from this, especially the Neil Young songs. And I would, nothing against buying it. I just have never gotten around to it. Uh, yeah, they were a great band. They just didn't last very long, right? Next up, the Stone Roses. I remember when I was working a few years back in I guess the early 2000s, late 90s, probably late 90s, and there was this co-worker of mine, Will, and we used to play music. He didn't like Sparks. He hated Sparks. And he used to always play he was into all of the Brit bands like Oasis and Pulp and the Stone Roses. So he would play these, and at the time back then, maybe it was a bit of jealousy or something, thinking these bands are trying to be as popular, as good as the Beatles were. I grew up with the music I loved, and this was maybe it was just I didn't want to hear it. But through the years, I have heard some songs by the Stone Roses and really liked them, and Blur and Oasis. When I was doing my Patreon songs and album reactions, I heard a lot of music there, and I really liked all of these Britpop bands that I used to ignore. But still, I have not heard the album, The Stone Roses. Next up, this is one that I think comes up, especially when I do like my top 10 live albums or whatever. Somebody will always say, "Where's the Allman Brothers at the Fillmore East?" It's not in my collection. And I have nothing against the band. Of course, I've heard their music. I've heard a song or, Whipping Post from this album, and it's good. But it's just, overall, I'm not a Southern rock fan. And except for maybe Black Oak, Arkansas in the early 70s. But great talent, of course. But it just wasn't for me. I had many other things to listen to. Back then I was into Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, and bands like that. This one is embarrassing. I'm ashamed of myself. I have bought Rush albums, of course. I bought their debut when it came out. I bought their first, I think, three or four albums when they came out. But I've never bought Moving Pictures. Of course, I've heard two or three of the songs from it, and they're excellent. Tom Sawyer, of course. And I have nothing against hearing the album. I've just never, I don't want to listen to it on Spotify. If anything, I would buy the album. And maybe, who knows, maybe someday I will. because definitely Rush is one of the great bands, three of the most talented members of any band. And so I have nothing against Rush. It's just for me, I never bought moving pictures, but I bought quite a few other Rush albums throughout the years. Yeah, I'm a pretty big fan of Joe Cocker, and I've got his first two. I'm a fan. I wouldn't say a big fan, but I do love his vocals. I have his first two albums, and I always remember seeing this ever since it was released, and I've just never heard it. Once again, who knows? Maybe someday I'll order it and listen to it because I am sure I would enjoy it. I just haven't. I haven't gotten around to it yet, and it's only been 50 plus years. So that's right. I used to buy Peter Gabriel albums. I bought his first one, which I really liked. His second one, which I didn't like as much as the debut. And then, of course, his third, the Melt album, was awesome. But I played it so much that, it's one of those albums I never really need to hear again. It's in here. And after that, I just kind of lost interest in him. And I have heard, of course, Sledgehammer and uh, Don't Give Up with Kate Bush, which is awesome, an awesome song. I didn't care for Sledgehammer quite as much. And through the years, he's released other albums and I've heard bits and pieces, and it just didn't draw me in enough to buy any of his albums after his first three. But he is a great artist, and I loved him in Genesis. And I guess that's 10. Yeah. So, like I said at the start of the video, I have heard parts of most of these albums, a song or two at least, and liked them. I didn't dislike them, but I just never had the urge to run out to the record store and buy them because I was always listening to other, maybe sometimes weirder stuff. Sparks and Captain Beefheart, Frank Zappa, and Blue Oyster Cult, and many other bands. And that is it. So, out of the 10 that I showed, which one would you say you've got to, I'm sure I'm going to get those comments anyway, but out of the 10, which one would you say, Larry, you've got to listen to this album? And maybe I will at some point. No promises. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like the video, leave a comment below. Make sure you subscribe to both of my channels, and goodbye. Have a great day.